Gentlemen, awesome day to you and welcome back to MGTOW Money. Today we're going to be talking about the three most common ways, three most common roads, if you will, to financial freedom. I'm talking about financial independence, to where you can pick and choose the jobs that you want to do if you want to work at all. So before we get to that though, this of course is MGTOW 2.0. This is the second wave of MGTOW. This information is practical, actionable ideas on mastering your money, ways that you can get financial freedom. It's about increasing your options and choices in life. I assume you're not a guy, I assume you're a MGTOW who doesn't want to be working till you're 70 or just be some flat broke kid sitting in your mom's basement at 35. I presume that's not you, because if it is, you might want to listen closely. So with that said, let's talk about today's topic. The three most common ways of achieving financial freedom, if you will, to support your unique lifestyle. And this is very unique in terms of, and I've spoken about this before, in terms of how much money do you need, your lifestyle, etc. And each of these three ways that I'm going to be talking about today, I have direct experience with. I either have done them personally myself, and I'll talk about my personal story in a moment, or I've worked with people and know people specifically that have done this before. But before we do that, though, let me make it clear. This is not about guys that win the lottery. This is not about some actor or athlete who hits it big. This is not about getting money the old-fashioned way, which is inheriting it. Those are very extreme ways, extremely unusual. Your chances are much more, it's 1 in 100 million that you're actually going to be able to get one of those things. And a lot of times when people get that sort of wealth out of the sky, that windfall of wealth, a lot of people burn through it. Look at all the broke athletes, actors, lottery winners, etc. It's amazing. I'm talking about realistic ways, things that you can do to achieve financial freedom in your lifetime. So let me talk about one of the first ways that I've seen done. And that specifically is working at a job or profession for a significant length of time, generally 15, 20 years minimum, to get a pension. A guaranteed defined pension, a monthly payout every single month, many times even with an inflation. After working a certain period of time, let's just say 15 or 20 years, your employer or former employer, after you've retired, will guarantee they will send you a check every single month for the rest of your life. Sometimes there might also be medical care benefits associated with this. The types of jobs you might be thinking about are government jobs, civil service jobs, teachers are extremely common. A person who's been in the military for 20 years, guaranteed pension, guaranteed lifetime income. You go into the military at 21, you come out at 41, guess what? You have a guaranteed income. I've known many guys that have done this. And I've also seen some people that have posted some things about this on the forum here. Another idea is union type jobs, many type of what are called blue collar type tradesman type jobs, many times they too will have some type of pension associated with it. Those are the types of professions that I would be looking at. Again, I'm not talking about a pension of like $500. Many guys that I'm aware of getting $2,000 to $5,000 a month for life. Not a bad chunk of change for sitting at home. Another way that you could do it, I've seen a few guys do this, starting a business and selling it. Specifically, a couple examples that I'm aware of, people that have started software companies. I'm not talking about Microsoft, I'm not talking about some other huge megalith company, but specialty type software companies, I've seen guys actually create them and ultimately sell them. Another one that I saw, a guy started a boat business, a boat building business, ran it for several years, 15, 20 years minimum, and sold it off. And he did okay. And he's living the dream, if you will. He's not working, and he's living off his income. He's living off his assets. He has a very nice lifestyle, I can promise you that. So the bottom line is, with some luck and some hustle, if you start a business, although it's riskier, it is a way to do it. And people do it. So that is another option for you to consider, is starting a business, get it up and going, and sell it off. Albeit, again, I accept there's some luck and there's some hustle involved. Let me give you the third option, and this is something that specifically applies to me in my life. Work at a regular job. I don't care what kind of job you have. Work at a regular job. Stay with it. Stay focused. Keep going there year after year. Aggressively save your money. And when I say aggressively, 25, 50% of your net after-tax income. Some of the guys have even mentioned this. Again, if you'll look at some of the comments on some of these videos, you'll see people saying, yeah, this is what I'm doing. You invest that money reasonably well. I'm putting that in quotations because I've told my own stories about losing money, and I don't even need to get into about losing money to women. And after 15 or 20 years, you can have a nice chunk of change. And with that chunk of change, you can put that into income-producing investments and live off your assets and not have to go to work again. So let me give you a real-life example, starting from my own biography, if you will, my autobiography. When I was around my late 20s, 27, 28 years old, I made a decision. I didn't want to work anymore. I know it sounds crazy, but I did not want to work anymore. I wasn't lazy. I just didn't want to work for anyone anymore. And I knew that I had to figure out a way to get enough assets to live on, to at least get some sort of bare existence, if you will, but ideally a lot more than that, but get enough that I could have a decent lifestyle. And furthermore, I read a book. It was published back in the mid-'80s, but anyway, it was later on in my life that I read it. It was How to Retire on $50 a Day by Paul Terhorst. How to Retire on $50 a Day by Paul Terhorst. An excellent book, long out of print. I still highly recommend it. The ideas are terrific. Anyway, the bottom line is, I thought, hey man, if I can figure out how to retire on $50 a day, I can do this. Anybody can do this. Well, guess what I did? I put in my time. I worked diligently. I saved my money. Yes, I lost money in the stock market. Yes, I lost a ton of money also on women. Here, don't get me started on the thousands of dollars that I've blown on women stupidly. I would have retired when I was probably 40, and actually I did retire when I was 48, but I probably would have done it about 5 to 8 years earlier if I hadn't blown so much stupid money on women, if I would have known about MGTOW sooner. But the point is, it can be done. With a regular job, with aggressive savings, by getting out of debt very, very early, you can do this. Other men have done this. They are doing this. Look at the comments in the forum if you want more specifics about this. So with that said, again, you've got 3 paths to financial freedom. 3 very specific paths that you can do, that any person can do. You don't need to be Einstein here. You just need to be a little bit disciplined. You don't need to take a vow of poverty and be a monk to do this. You can do this, but you've got to follow the plan. You've got to re-listen to some of the videos if you're not already on the plan. You don't want to be some broke MGTOW at 67 working at a grocery store bagging groceries, I assume. Let me finish by saying, do me a favor. Share this video with your friends, post it on forums, and hit the subscribe button now. And hit the like button if you liked it, if you found this information useful. With that said, as always, guys, I appreciate you listening. John Galt, out.